Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. Now, Gardening Simplified channel, I started this as a way to simplify gardening. And what we're going to be talking about today is succession planting. And what we're going to do, I'm going to show you a little bit about what I'm fixing to put out. But I'm going to kind of give you an idea when it's time to start switching out your crops. I'm going to put some purple opal basil out. Now, some of these are from Baker Creek and some of these are from Johnny's Seeds. But this basil here, I'm going to put it in there for pollinators, and what I'll do is when it gets ready, I'll do a lot of dehydrating to store some up. I do have the sunburst patty pan. I'm going to plant a few of these. We still have plenty of time for our season. The red Kuri Squash, I'm going to put these out. I've been planning to do this for about 3 weeks and it hadn't happened. I got the Opal turquoise corn, and I'm going to grow this so I can make meal out of it, and plus get seeds for next year's crop. And everybody's always talking about the dragon tongue beans, so I said I'm going to put these out and just see what they're like. And now I just got a cucumber variety, just a slicing cucumber. I'm going to plant a couple of plants. Mine are still producing, but I want some to be there whenever I get here later on in the summer and towards the early fall. So we'll plant those. Now, it's been a while since I planted, and I buy these bulk beans, but these are speckled limas, or we like to call them speckled butter beans. Now you can see how big the seed is. So you imagine once you cook these how they swell up. They're like a big lima, and they've really got a good flavor. You'll see that I've harvested my purple hull peas, but I'm going to try this different variety. The variety I used to like was a Texas pink eye, and the seed has been really hard to get. So this is a BBR. It's a little bit smaller purple hull, but the flavor I think is more intense. And then I'm going to plant these Silver Queen Crowder peas. Now normally I plant a zipper, but I have plenty of zippers. And my mother was talking about how my grandpa used to plant a little brown cream pea. So this is probably it. But let's go out to the garden and we'll show you what's happening out there. I have my garden helper now, Gigi. This a new dog, and quite hard to get it used to the garden because it's got lab and cur in it, and the cur is they're really mischievous, I guess. This was a succession crop of green beans, and as you can see, they're fixing to flower here, so it won't be long now I'll be getting green beans. But this is my cucumbers. You can see how they're yellow, and it won't be long they'll be dying back. So if you plan to, and I don't need this many, I'll just plant a couple of plants. But if you plant it early enough, you can you won't ever have a problem about being short for your fresh vegetables. Now over here, I've taken and covered this area, and we just recently got a little over 2 inches of rain, so it's kind of I covered it right after it got about 1.5 inches, so it was good and wet. I want to get all the grass that was coming up there and everything, because like I said earlier, this is going to be converted to a no dig. I'll put a couple of beds here between this no dig bed that's just been set up and the side. And while we're here, I've never planted flowers in the garden. And after I plant them, and after you see them come up in the garden in the color I say, I don't know why I haven't. Of course, it'll be good to draw the pollinators, but it really makes it pleasant when you come out here to work and you see all the color. Okay, what the plans are, looks like I missed a purple hole, but the plans are these purple holes here, these long rows, they're just about played out. The other ones are playing out too, but these ones, as you can see when you look down, you don't see any purple holes. Now there are a few that are setting here and there, and you can see there's a green one there, but they've just about played out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these out. This will be one of the succession crops, and I'll actually get my grass out while I do this, and I'll convert this to no dig. So it'll be a little more work preparing the beds, you know, and all that kind of stuff. But when I'm going to plant this time, I'm going to plant with drip tape. Now, I do have drip system on some of my plants where I use this 700 series and little drip emitters, and it works good. It's kept everything growing. But as far as my peas and stuff, I had some overhead watering, and it really, with that overhead watering, it really does encourage growth of grass. So what we're going to do is, like I say, I'll plant these, and I'm going to plant them on a market garden bed, so the rows will be a little closer than normal. But we're going to handle it that way. And I'm going to come over here, and might have to do a little flame weeding on the side here to get rid of this that's coming in. But I'm going to put my corn and my squash in my purple holes over here. I'll put my crowders in that area. But what you need to do whenever you're deciding to succession plant, you need to decide to do it when your crop is beginning to fail. Now these were planted a couple of weeks later, these 4 rows, and you can see they've still got a pretty good crop coming on. So these will be left in here. Now I could come down and I could pull out my corn, and eventually I will. But I've kind of left it in here to kind of shade the winter squash and pumpkins to let them go. But this'll probably be next, but I can't really get in here. You have to plant all this stuff when you have a garden this size, and that's kind of like this area over here. This will be a succession planting. I had potatoes here earlier, and I really left it open longer than I wanted to, but the idea in here will be, I'll move my garlic to this side because there seems to be a lot of voles over here, and with the pressure from the rodents, I can't put my potatoes over here anymore, and so what I'm going to do is, they don't seem to mess with my onions, and they don't seem to mess with, I've seen them up in where my garlic is, but they don't seem to mess with the garlic as far as eating it up and stuff. So I'll put it over here. Sometimes when you deal with pests, you have to be creative. But when you succession plant, understand. Now I have my pumpkins down here. They're starting to ripe up. Some of them's going to have to come off. The vines will start to die. But with pumpkins, these are just like squash. You're going to end up having a problem with squash bugs. And so you don't want to come in and pull them out and succession plant something that's similar. So I'll put my starburst over far away where there hasn't been any squash, and that way I don't have to worry about pressure right off from them. I'm sure they'll get there and I'll have to deal with it, but I won't have to worry about it right from the start. I did want to show something here because I'm having fun with growing pumpkins, but this here is the Atlantic Giant, and this, if you can tell by my hand, which makes it kind of hard, this is I'm going to show you another one over here. On my last video on the 16th, which is about 10 days ago, that pumpkin was this size right here. And so this is about, in fact it was just a little smaller than this, but this is about 8-9 inches. And that other one over there is it's 2 foot. Every day you come out here, it's bigger. I mean, it grows overnight. But I was talking about pest pressure. Now, I did notice squash bugs over here. And when you start noticing squash bugs, you have to watch your leaves. I mean, if you're not going to use chemicals, you have to watch your leaves for their eggs. And it's real easy to keep them under control. And I don't see any eggs to show you, but if you see little reddish brown eggs on top of the leaves, that is your squash bug. So if you take care of them that way, you don't have to worry about the population taking over. Like I say, I saw them in here, and I had half a dozen or so leaves that had the eggs on them, but it was just a matter of smash the eggs and go on. And of course this pumpkin here too, the heat is really hard on it. So when you plant, you have to take in consideration a lot of those things. This one I had to water a lot. I haven't taken the grass out. I've kind of left it for more moisture control, keep the sun from just drying the soil out. When its leaves take over, the grass just barely grows because it can't get any light, or can't get much light. But realize that too when you succession plant. Make sure you put your plants somewhere where you don't have to deal with pest pressure. Now, I'm in zone 8B, and in 8B there's a lot of things, or they've got recommended times for planting, and it always goes on your average frost-free date. Now everyone says your frost-free date, but I want you to know that's the average. Whether you're planting in the spring and you're waiting, or whether you're planting in the fall, because this isn't a given. That's the average time, and we usually work off of that. Like that's, like it knows and it's going to frost at that time. But understand, you want to be far enough ahead of it that you will be, your crop will finish off a little bit before your average frost-free date. But don't set it down as gospel to when to plant, because right now it's not a time to plant squash according to the planting guide for the area. But the planting guide gives you it's kind of like cabbage. I shouldn't have cabbage now. We don't grow it in the summer, but as you can see, I have good healthy cabbage plants. It takes more water. You have a harder time dealing with pests, and you have to deal with that. It's kind of like This bed is bare right here. This was my lettuce, my broadleaf and my romaine. Well, I got a good crop off it, but because of how hot it is, eventually it's going to go and bolt, which is time to pull it out. So you just pull it out and you replant. But it's best to try to plan on this ahead of time. That way you have plants ready or you have seeds ready, so when you go in. And that's what we're going to do here. But I'll do some follow-up videos on where we're setting and information on planting and using the drip system. Happy gardening.